You got the bug?
Finally over. I'd like to call the East Ascension Drainage Meeting to order for the February 5th, 2018. Mr. Secretary, let it be known that Mr. Turner and Mr. Johnson are absent. Mr. Clua, would you please lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge?
Sure. Will everyone please stand? In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. Lord, we thank you for bringing us through the freezing cold weather we had for the last month and a half. Lord, with the impending work and the deadline on the FEMA trailers, we ask that you look upon all the elected officials from Ascension Parish to Washington, D.C. Please have compassion for the folks that are still out of their homes and that still need a roof over their head. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with Ms. Debbie. We'll move on to number 4, the acceptance for the December 11th drainage meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Johnny. Move on to elections of officers for the drainage. I'd like to open up the floor for chairman.
Motion to elect Dempsey Lambert back on.
Second.
Chairman.
Are there any other nominations from the floor? Not? Thank you so much. Really appreciate the confidence. And as you're here tonight, we are moving into a new year of good things that's really fixing to happen. So thank you for your confidence, and we're going to move forward. With that, we'll go on to Vice Chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mr. Randy Cluat.
Second.
Any other nominations from the floor? Not? Mr. Cluat?
I want to thank you guys very much for letting me assist Dempsey in leading, and later in this meeting, we'll be talking briefly about a project that he and Todd have been working on for about 15 years, and I've been working on about 10 years, and we kind of see some light at the end of the tunnel on that one. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Number 6, there's no chairman's report. Number 7, the drainage report. Mr. Ron or Mr. William Dan, whoever wants to handle that.
I can go ahead and take it.
Okay.
We'll kind of defer to Ms. Kimberly with GSA, give you a report on the Laurel Ridge levee. If you don't mind, Ms. Kimberly.
Ms. Deb.
Ron, is your mic on?
Well, I have good news for y'all. I have the permit for the Laurel Ridge levee from the Corps.
Awesome.
I really want to thank everyone for your patience and your efforts in this project. I know it's been a long time coming, but we're really excited to keep moving forward, start final design. We've got approval from the PLD to go forward with final design, so we're going to be working on that with the next few months. And we're meeting with the parish tomorrow to go over construction access easements, so we're really excited to move forward with this.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. I know you're going to have, you have anything else? I know,
Unless
Mr.
y'all have
Cool, I
any
got quite a
questions
few
for me.
questions here.
Real quick, we've been working parallel path on right-of-way acquisition. And
Right-of-way acquisition is commencing simultaneously with final design. I've been in close communication with our team that's handling that, and they have all their appraisal reports done, and they have drafted legislature for the state parcel that is the levee's passing through, so everything's moving forward with that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Mr. Todd Lambert?
Oh, maybe you can, a couple of guys, it's been a while since we had the direction of which way it's going to end up at on Highway 431. Could you?
It'll actually be terminating on Wall Cemetery Road. The final design portion is going to reveal more specifics on that. We're working on that right now.
But right now, that's where it's ending.
Yes.
It's at a high elevation of 431 right there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions?
Appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you.
Mr. Turner's here, Ms. Deb, you can put him in. Mr. Ron, you want to go ahead with your next presentation?
Yes, I'd like to take the opportunity to bring BKI up. And what they've been looking into is the stop log project and storm surge. And with that, they need some decisions made on the rake system. If the board wishes to move forward with a rake system, we need to know what that objective is so they can finalize their design of the stop logs. We're looking in the recommendation of what we're currently doing and what we have been doing for the past several years as well, with the excavator and cleaning the rakes out manually, or the screens out manually. So we wanted to bring that before you guys to where you could see all options, and just for introduction and information tonight, and then possibly by the next meeting, we get a decision made on that.
Question.
Go ahead, Mr. Lambert.
Ron, what is the recommendation from the staff? I know y'all got more experience in these rakes, and what is y'all recommendation that the,
The recommendation of staff is what we are currently doing with the excavators that we normally use in drainage
Long
works. You'll see that in a demo here in just a bit.
Oh, okay.
But also, we'd like to, with the recommendation of BKI, we support that as well. If we do move forward with what we are currently doing, we looked at the second recommendation, the second option of what he's fixing to present to you guys. And even if we do not go forward with the rake system, we still want the engineering done, that at a later date, if the board wishes to install some, that the engineering would be there to be able to do that if we so wish at that time.
thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the commission. As all you guys know, it's Henry Picard with Burke Klein Peter. We've been working with the Marvin Borough Pump Station since 2006, and we're happy to continue working on it. One of the issues that you guys had was pumps 1 through 5, which were built back in 1990, had bracken green rakes. The middle 12 feet of each bay, pump bay, was raked. Y'all went through the process of repairing them to the point where you got the forge drawings and actually milled your own parts to try and make it work, and eventually y'all have decided to pull those screen cleaners and basically rake it, as Ron has described, with a backhoe with a rake implement put onto it. There's some manufacturers that had proposed different options to build. When we did the expansion on pumps number 6 and 7, we had recommended and installed what are called Infilco Degremont screen cleaners, IDI. And those are a high-quality brand cleaner. Unfortunately, they are expensive. Bill wanted to look at some other options that could possibly be cheaper, since he had to replace the 5 in one, bays 1 through 5. All right. So what he did was he asked us to do a little study. And let's see, getting there. All right. I don't think we got hookup yet.
Well, if you push it up, Henry, you kind of need to.
What do I do?
I would ask Mr. Bob Turner to come up. He seems to be that, Mr.
Autofocus.
Mr. Jerome, I mean. Somebody,
Okay.
Jerome, do you know how to work that thing? I apologize.
It's not a problem. Not a problem. Come on, if we don't have some kind of technical malfunction.
Look a little like Bob.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
it's still not done. Oh. All right. See what? Ah, okay, all right.
It's not on the big screen.
Okay, good deal. Not exactly what we were, there we go. Slide back there. All right. So basically, Bill had been approached by the Lakeside Screen Cleaner Company, which is a local company that's supported by Alan J. Harris and Company. Their screen system is out of Brandenburg, Germany. And they had recommended the bill using a catatonic rake system where it would do the screen cleaning but with a movable head. So what Bill asked us to do was compare the screen system for the Lakeside Muir monorail with the Duperon and the Infilco Degraments, which we had installed previously. We had added the Duperon because we've got some experience with those in some other parishes, and we did that. All right. Real quick, as I described before, pumps 1 through 5 have no automated screen cleaners. They've been removed, and we do have automatic screen cleaners on 6 and 7. And those are the Infilcos. The Lakeside Muir is a unique system that we evaluated. We talked with the local representatives, and we also dealt with the group in Brandenburg, Germany, did conference calls and traded drawings to make sure everything would be matching. And basically what they have, as you can see, it's a rake system that's supported by a monorail. They drop the rake system down, and it cleans the screen by scraping as the weight of the head uses gravity. Basically, the pros on this, it's a low-cost alternative. It's the cheapest of the 3 different types. It can be easily installed. We've got the wall supports on every bay, so it could be mounted there. We recommended that they have 2 head units to provide redundancy, because if you're going to put all your trust in just one head for 5 bays, if it goes down, you could possibly lose all 5 bays. So we felt the probability of having 2 heads go down at the same time were low. We recommended to them that they include that in their plan. And then if you do have to manually screen, because you do have heads go down, you can push this monorail system off to the side and then go back to your excavator with a rake on it. The downsides to this system is it can only clean 12.5 feet at one time. We've got 25-foot wide bays. So it'll literally take 2 passes per bay. The other problem you've got with this, it's got the lowest amount of debris removal. You know, basically how many pounds can it lift and remove in any single pass. It uses a control system with limit switches, et cetera, because it'll have to index across the different bays and in essence be perfectly aligned for 2 different passes in the same bay, and then articulate over to a dump station and then go on to other bays. It has the longest cycle time. It's got a cycle time of approximately 16 minutes, where for it to clean either a 3-bay or a 2-bay setup. The 2-bay setup, it'll do it in about 16 minutes. If you've got 3 bays on it, it'll take 24 minutes. So some of your bays will only be cleaned twice an hour, where other cleaner systems will be more speed. This is a little conceptual layout that we put together. As you're aware, we have individual drainage bays in between each pump bay, and you would have the 2 heads approaching either from the south or the north, and it would drop down, clean the rakes. What we had them do, or what we planned on doing, was they were gonna take all the waste down to one end and dump it. That would increase the cycle time even longer than what I just spoke about. So what we put in was some intermediate ramps that if you would go to an adjacent bay, you'd only have to go to the next pre-drainage bay to dump it, and it would cut down your cycle time. This is a little elevation or sectional view of the way the rake system would work. It drops down vertically, glides along the bar screen, and then the rounded arm clamps the debris and then hauls it away. The other system we looked at was Superon, and it's got a continuous cleaning. If anybody's familiar with the old catenary chain rakes, it's very similar. In this instance, all the rake mechanism is above the water so that you don't have to worry about going down below to do any repairs. It's basically sprocket-driven flexible links with a bar on it. The fixed rakes move up the screen, and it works at about a speed of one scraping up from the bottom of the rake up to the top in about a minute. So it's fairly quick on removing the debris. One of the problems that we do have is it's a pro and a con. They only come in a maximum of 12-foot width. We've got 25-foot bays, so we'd have to have 2 units per bay. So if one unit went down, you could still partially clean on that bay. It'd be no worse than what the Bracken Greens were, because they were only 12 foot out of the 25. But it provides a little bit of redundancy. The downside of that is you can have a 1-foot dead spot in the middle of your bay, which really wasn't analyzed by Alden, but they could look at that possibly to see if there's a difference. Now, this would be the cons on this one is a little bit more difficult to clean manually because the rakes are in front of the bar, so you really couldn't get your backhoe with your rake on it, get down there and clean it. You'd have to remove these, so pretty much if both went down, the pump would go down. Most probably you could run one and still keep the pumps running, but probably not at full capacity. Okay, this is an example of what it would look like. It uses the chain and link system. It's all above the bar, and all the sprockets and equipment are above water. The Infilco Degremont is the top of the line, if you want to call it the Cadillac. It's a big workhorse. It continuously cleans every 2.8 minutes. It'll rake the entire system. It's got the greatest lifting capacity of all three, and it can be, manually cleaned if necessary. The cons on it is absolutely the highest cost. And then if the unit does go down, there's no redundancy because you're basically out of capacity. You can't rake the screens too easily. All right, and the other thing is it's got a large frame that does restrict some movement next to the building. And these are the basically the front view and a side view of how the rake system works. We did a little quick matrix for you guys to kind of look at the pros and cons in each one. And each one of them is a good system, but it kind of is designed for different things. The real cut to the chase issue is lakeside mirror rakes are only in the U.S. in 2 locations. They're both hydroelectric plants. We've never seen them done in a drainage situation here in the U.S. We're hesitant to recommend that you guys be the guinea pig to put a system in. Yes, it is cheaper, but on the opposite side, the IDI is the Cadillac. But it's $5 million for the installation of the 5 units as compared to right at $2 million. What we have recommended to Ron and Bill as sort of a compromise is the Duparen screen cleaner. It does have its downsides, but yet for about $3 million, you can put them in on all 5 rakes. And then Ron has even considered whether or not they want to do that at this time, but if in the future you wish to put in a rake, we would recommend the Duparen rake system of all 3. Any questions?
Mr. Aaron?
Just got a couple, I've been jotting some things down. Talking about the rate of removal, what is the average buildup rate on an average day, and then what is it during a high pumping capacity time period?
There's, I don't think we're weighing any of the things that come off, but typically from what Alan Allred and Bill and Ron has described to us is the bays off of Bayou Francois, New River Canal are the ones that have the highest amount of debris. And that's where we got the IDI rakes. They've pulled up, small trees. They pull up buffalo fish on a regular basis. But it basically, the IDIs, we have literally seen them pull up Volkswagen Beetles out of canals. So, I mean, they are good systems, but it may be more than what you guys need.
Well, my question is, though, is that it says 80,000 pounds per hour.
That's capacity.
Capacity.
That we have not, I don't know of any measurements, and if Ron can add. Remember what the way you guys work your rakes is all the floating hyacinths, et cetera, are kind of stalled at the floating boom. And when the event is over with, y'all open up the boat lock and y'all kind of barge the hyacinths over to the boat lock and let them float down. That way you don't even have to process that debris. It's a good move because if you bring it up on deck, it's got to go to a landfill. You have to pay for the landfill. This way, they were floating downstream before, they're floating downstream afterwards. So really what you've got is debris that's rolling along the bottom or vegetation that's been floating through the area. And most of what y'all get is more of a grass type of vegetation. So we feel comfortable with the rates that the Duparen can do at 500 pounds a minute. So, and with 2 screens in there, we'd be doing 1,000 pounds per bay. And I don't think you guys are getting 1,000 pounds, on each bay.
And as far as the current 2 IDIs we have, do we have any issues with those?
We had a little bit of issue with rake number 6. There was an installation issue that they had not taken care of when they did it. You're supposed to be able to reverse it to disengage anything. That's been taken care of. And there was an arm that got bent, and those parts have been replaced by IDI. And then you guys installed them.
That's all the questions I have for right now.
Mr. Sadler?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Henry. It seemed to me, no engineer, we'll start with that, disclaimer here, that the Duparen system compares favorably with the IDI, or actually identically in terms of all the yes and no check mark boxes you have for all the rows in our table, with one notable exception, which is actually, correct me if I'm wrong, an advantage. The Duparen under the equipment provided redundancy is a yes, and under IDI is a no. So I believe you said, sir, that if the IDI goes out, you're essentially SOL. So that seems to be an advantage. It's also 60%, 3 million point one versus the 5 million for all that we need.
That is correct.
And I'm not so sure I'd want to be, I think you called it a guinea pig in terms of using Lakeside with only 2 locations, you said, in the whole of the U.S.?
There's 2 locations. One of them is a sanitary sewer screen, and the other one is a hydroelectric dam up in Washington State.
So two questions then. We already have some IDI, right?
Yes.
And
Two.
so is there any danger in mismatching if
No.
with further?
No, they're all independent bays.
So no danger there?
No.
And just a quick question, how important is it to clean the entire screen in one pass? Not very, probably, as long as it gets done, right?
Well, yes and no. If you think about it from the logistic that the cycle time is anywhere from 16 minutes or in a bad situation, 24 minutes for the mirrors, you could have a lot of debris build up. And what happens is it's the grass type debris that'll go onto the screen. It slows the water going through the bar screens. Basically what that does is starve your pumps, which leads you for a higher potential for cavitation, which you'll pit your impeller,
Absolutely.
et cetera. Ron says they get out there when they start noticing about a foot differential between the front of the rake and the back of the rake on the current 5 bays that they don't have rakes on. So the issue is it's you either invest in the equipment to remove it or you invest in the manpower and the backhoe that you've got now. And you know that we don't want to speak to the operation aspect of it because that is what you guys do best. We're just saying that if you ever wish to put a screen system in, what we would recommend to you guys is the Duperin system as opposed to the IDI or the Muir because of the cost effectiveness, the fact that it will meet your needs. But there are, as we've noticed, there are a few minor downsides to it. You won't be able to, if they break down, you won't be able to clean from with your backhoe system, et cetera.
So again, I'm not an engineer, it sounds like you would probably make a recommendation that we go with the Duperin system as opposed to.
We are making
You're
that
actually doing that.
recommendation.
Okay, so as opposed to the Cadillac, this IDI system.
If you
So why did we-
you guys are flush with money.
So this is an obvious question. Why did we go with the Cadillac last time? Was the Duperin available?
It was not available in the sense that it would cover the entire width of the bay. And then number two, the IDI is the only one that will cover a 25-foot bay system.
Gotcha.
And it was our recommendation to go with the IDIs based upon their track history. We've got, decades of history with the IDIs, and they rarely have issues, and we felt we were making the best recommendation for you guys. The reason we've looked at these other systems is Bill is concerned about the cost, and our recommendation was if you don't want to go with the IDI, which is what we originally intended, go with the Duperin because it meets your needs. But, we don't have any issues with our original recommendation. We felt we gave you the best for your system.
Thank you. Good answers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Bill?
Thanks. Maybe Ron might have to help with this, but am I correct that what the actual recommendation is that we continue to clean this manually with the equipment that we have? Is that correct?
Sorry.
Get
Mr.
closer.
Daniel sat in and we met with BKI and we went over the matrix. And we told him and instructed him what we do on a daily basis at the station. And looking at the price and the funding that it would cost to do this, it was just bring it to you guys that we do have the option of what we're doing now versus spending upwards of $2-3 million. So that's where we're at.
So the staff recommendation is to stay with what we are, stay where what we're doing manually.
Yes, talking to our operators, our supervisors, we're accustomed to this. It's part of their operations mode. When we start enacting the station, nobody has a problem doing that, and that's what we've been doing since the other rakes have come out. So.
Good. I applaud the frugality of that. The
issue that I think
wanted to ask you
Ron-
about the engineering, Ron. Did you say you wanted to go ahead and do the engineering for this?
Well, I think one of the task orders that BKI is currently doing is the stop logs. And in the infrastructure that it's gonna take to install the stop logs, if we do wanna move forward in the future installing rake systems, we wanna have it engineered to where the stop logs wouldn't affect the design or what it would take to install a rake at a later date. So that's why we're bringing this to you guys, is to make sure the direction we wanna go, in the fact to give him the clarity he needs to finish the design of the stop logs, as well as be prudent in the fact of all options on the table.
So what is the cost of the engineering?
I think you guys have done the engineering on the
Yeah,
brakes.
we've completed the study. We're 90% complete on the stop logs, 95% complete on the surge protection. It's a matter of getting some input from the commission as far as because as Ron has stated, he wants to continue with the manual raking, which we don't object to. That's his operations. He knows his operations best. Our only question was to Ron was, if you ever wanted to go with a system in the future, we want to put the stop log at the right location, because we'd hate to have to go back and rebuild the stop log.
So what was the engineering cost? What's the additional engineering cost?
I think it was $55,000 for the study to do this.
Total, and you're 95% complete with it?
Well,
No.
yeah, we've turned in a draft report to.
Does this include the engineering for the stop log? I don't know. I'm
No, that's a
confused on
separate,
that one.
that's a separate issue.
So what is the engineering cost the additional cost that we're talking about doing to make this compatible with the stop log? Is that
Well, I think
correct?
we've
Nothing.
got that task order
Nothing.
already. That's what this
Nothing,
product
okay.
It's just a
This is
decision.
the engineering of
The
that.
question is, do I make the stop log 20 feet out from the bridge, or do I make it 25 feet out from the bridge? You know,
Okay.
or do I make it 35 feet out from the bridge? And that would be dependent upon the system, and that really is not that huge of an issue
Okay.
of where that stop log goes. We'd hate to put it in, only to find 5 years down the road, you want to put in a rake system, and you've got to rebuild the stop log.
Well, if you want to put in a different system, you will have to modify that. Is that correct?
Generally not. Two of the systems, the IDI and the Duperin, both use a 60-degree screen angle, so they're pretty much handling the same offset. The Lakeside Muir could use a 75-degree screen angle, so it could be pulled in. And where that affects you is how you take and lift and set your stop logs. But in all cases, we are recommending that platforms be built on top of the drainage bays so that crane system can set those logs. Because right now, y'all have had some difficulties with being able to get stuff out to certain locations, and the outriggers can't be set, et cetera, for the cranes. And this would provide them the ability to set the outriggers and set the logs. The logs are going to be about
Thank you.
10,000 pounds between the spreader bar and the log itself. And
Thank you, Henry.
they'll be about 3 feet tall.
You good, Mr. Bill?
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Cloyd?
Yeah, Henry, on 6 and 7,
Yes.
I know, it's the importance of actually getting water to the pump. And we did some improved suction volutes on 6. We did 6 and 7. It's a little bit different than 1 through 5.
That is correct.
I'm just looking at, what we do with the crane. I'm in favor of going with Ron's suggestion and staying right now. And you go ahead and make the stop log to fit in case we ever want to do that.
That's
Okay?
what our intent is.
And I just want to clear up, Ron, do we have we've got some structural integrity issues? I mean, do we damage anything with the track hoe? Because I know at work, every time we get a track hoe, you hit it 100 times, you're going to scratch something.
Well, when we
whatever.
first implemented looking at excavators to do this, we kind of went out there
Excavator,
with
track
these
hoe.
bigger excavators. But now that looking into it, we realized that using a smaller excavator this mid-size range, 18,000-pound class machine, can do what we need to do to serve the purpose. So looking at the end of this, based on this decision, we may buy a piece of equipment for that operation only and leave it there, rubber track type machine.
And Henry, just clear me up on your chart. You got 5 million for the highest price one and 1.93 for the lowest one. So
That is correct.
That is each?
No, that's all.
That's all five. Okay.
That's all five.
I want to clear that up. Well, that's 5 million to 2 to 5 million. We fixing to build a levee extension, and we got a project up on the north end in Terry and them's district that's probably cost us a little bit more money. We had a certain amount of bonded money 10 years ago, and we're trying to work our way through it. And we definitely got fund balance to cover this if we need to. But I just remain with right now. I would like to see you get the stop log system in place.
Understood. We're
And
not here
this-
to tell you how to spend your money.
Well, I'm just saying that this is, we've looked at it before, even when we looked at 5 and 6, and it's such a variable between them. Some of them are competitive pricing, but for the most part, you get what you pay for. And so finding yourself in the middle is probably pretty easy right here with this selection. But I would like to see this committee not move forward on this right now, but I'd like to see you get that stop log system in place.
Understood.
Ms. Terry?
Henry, I've got to go back a ways, because all of these stations are pre my service and many of my fellow councilmen. So the question, I have 2 questions and then a comment that I'd like to make. One is, why weren't these things designed into this system to start with? I mean, we knew what we were draining.
They were.
They were.
They had a system called a bracken green.
Okay,
And
that's great.
It
Glad to
went
hear it.
obsolete. Y'all couldn't buy parts anymore. Y'all actually manufactured replacement parts. But it got to the point where Bill felt it was cost effective just to pull those screens out, the screen cleaners out, and just put in what they call the blank screens.
Right.
And then y'all use an excavator to pull up the debris.
Okay, thank you for clarifying
No
that.
problem. Yeah, they were part of the system. It's just they became obsolete after 20-some years.
They were part of the original system, and they became obsolete soon after they were in service, and they were a maintenance nightmare. We actually, like I said, some good machine shops made a lot of money fabricating those parts. And it was hard for even these guys to even try to make them work.
Understood. Yeah, I think y'all rode that horse till it died.
Well, I don't think there's anybody sitting up here that made that decision.
No, I mean, it wasn't a
Way-
bad
Way
dec-
back, and so it's nothing against them. They did a
Yeah.
good job.
They were good when they were installed, but they were not the latest technology when they were installed, but they were good systems. Bracken Green makes good rakes. But unfortunately, they became obsolete, and the fact that you couldn't get parts or had to manufacture your own parts just doesn't make it practical.
I just think the stop log system is important to the overall function of the.
And you will need the stop log
Facility.
system so that you can do the maintenance rehabs on bays 1 through 5 that you guys want to do. That's,
Terry?
Thank you.
Chairman, excuse me.
My second question is to our operating folks, because I'm not sure I'm where Randy is yet, because I'm trying to catch up here. Manual raking, I understand works. I was out there during the flood. I watched some of that going on. Can you assure me and the public that that's a safer way to do this? I mean, I'm concerned about the safety of our employees who are undertaking this kind of effort.
Sure.
In a situation where, to me, I thought that was a dangerous looking out operation.
Well, either way it goes, Ms. Terry, even with these rake systems, they still bring debris on the deck that just falls on the deck. Okay, so night or day, you have to run heavy equipment and move that, manually remove the debris from the dock onto an off-site storage area that we have there. So these guys are trained in what they do, and that's what we do every time we run the pumping station. And it's lit up. We did have some lighting improvements there. So, yeah, it's definitely anytime you're on equipment, a safety factor, and we always want to be safe, but for what we are dealing with now, we feel confident that we can make the pumps run, and we have for the last several years at doing this method.
And you would have to, for my further education, regardless of this screen or this rake, you would still have to do some of the things you have to do. Is that what I'm understanding you to say? Some of those things that I thought looked so frightening to me and concerned me about the safety of some of our employees.
Yes, we have to have equipment on site every time we pump.
Okay.
A skid steer on the top deck to remove the debris, and then an excavator that we use to clean out the screens.
Okay. So that satisfies my question. Thank you so much. My concern now, and what I would ask you to do going forward, since it appears that likely the decision will be made that we wait on this process, is that we begin to collect that data. The next time we have an incident, we need to understand what the weight is that we're pulling out of there. I think it would help us to make to better our decision-making if we had an answer to that question as opposed to well, I'm not sure how much we're pulling out. So if you all would begin collecting that data at a relevant time, let's hope we don't have another flood where we have to use it. But, it's going to happen.
Do you all have hall tickets from previous events?
No. We'll look into that, a method to get a weight on that.
Okay, thank you
Try to get
so
that
much.
information for you.
At this time, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Mr. Todd?
Yeah, I experienced, I guess, back when we first got the pumps, when I first come on board in 6, something like that. The rakes did a fine job, that was them, but like you said, they got obsolete and can't get parts for them, and, because they picked up some debris. Not just, vegetation, tires, refrigerators, whatever it took, and threw it on that deck. So whatever Ron and them, I'm good with the way they operate now because I trust in what they're doing. But on 7 and 8, or 6 and 7,
6 and 7.
the new they got IDIs on them.
That is correct.
So we can monitor them and see how they hold up within the next 4 or 5 years to say whether or not we actually want to spend that extra money down the road and start putting them in. So let's monitor them a little longer than just a year or two. We hadn't really put them to the test too much yet. So I would like to see how long they hold up before we even make an attempt on them. But let's keep the operation like it is. I'm happy with that, and I trust in our guys that they do it the best and safest way they can.
Sure.
Mr. John?
Just a quick question. If we decide to go this way with the automated rakes, what, if any, is there any warranty from DuPont or IDI?
Oh, yeah. All the equipment has typically a 1-year warranty, or you can set it at a longer date. But from a practical standpoint, if you tell them you want a 5-year warranty, you're going to include that in the bid price. But typically, a 1-year warranty is what's standard for this type of equipment.
Okay. And they
And that's from
certify
acceptance.
They certify the installation once it's done and all that stuff?
Yes, yes. In
Okay.
fact, IDI's been out several times on both 6 and 7, and they certify that they're working appropriately, before they finalize the project.
Okay. Well, I concur with most of the folks up here that trust what we're doing, and they're going to improve or at least look at the safety aspect and continue to do it that way.
Okay.
That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Johnny.
I will say that we did run Pump 7. Last week, we had a high event there with the rain, and we were able to put it in the load for several hours, so got a good run at it, got to see the rake work, and everything went well.
Good.
Anything else, Mr. Henry?
Nope.
With that being said, appreciate all the information, and we'll
Thank you.
definitely take it under advisement, and, we'll see what happens from this information. Mr. Turner, you had anything? I'm sorry.
No questions.
Mr. Bill, back to, did you have something on HNTB with Panama
Are
Conway?
they gonna give a report?
Did we have anything on them, Ron?
I
or-
think Miss Melissa's here from HNTB. She'll kind of go over where we're at with that.
Appreciate that. I didn't want to miss you.
Thanks.
Hi, thank you.
Again, it's Melissa Kennedy with HNTV. And just to give you a summary of where we are with the Bayou Conway Panama Canal LOMAR, we submitted the LOMAR package back in November. We just received official comments last month. We will be submitting responses to those comments this week and then resubmitting some of the documentation that they requested in early March. Once they get that, they have 90 days to say either come back with more comments or go ahead and approve what we've submitted. The reviewer that I've talked to, the FEMA reviewer, he assured me that we can work together in between that time so that it's not going to be they wait 90 days and get back to us and then we have to go through this round again. So he assured me that we can work together to get everything resolved within this 90-day time period. Then from that point in time, they issue the LOMAR, but it's not final. It doesn't become effective until about 4.5 months after that. They said it goes into a 90-day appeal period where someone can come back with a question or disagree or whatever. But he did say that process usually is about 4.5 months. It takes them a couple weeks to actually issue the LOMARs before they go into the appeal period, and then after the appeal period, assuming everything is okay, it takes them another couple weeks or so to actually issue the LOMAR to be effective.
Mr. Bill.
So just to clarify, Melissa, this is to take the A zones and to establish a BFE in these A zones in the western part of the parish. Is that correct?
It's in the whole Bayou Conway Panama Canal Basin. We're adjusting all the base flood elevations, and yes, as you said, we will be establishing BFEs in the A zone. So there will no longer be A zones; there will be AE zones only. So everyone will know.
So I guess just to talk a little bit, are you prepared to talk a little bit about what difference that would make in people's insurance premiums that live in these A zones?
Most of the area, it lowers the BFE, so theoretically it should lower insurance rates. There are a few areas, and they're mostly undeveloped areas where the BFE does go a little bit higher. I believe that's up in more of the Bayou watershed area. Boyle Bayou. I always get it backwards, sorry.
Okay, good. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about is the area around Pelican Point, and to the north of there some is that we're looking at establishing BFEs, and they're going to be lower than what previously had been used under the Zone A's. Is that
Correct.
Good summary? Okay.
Correct.
And so if my math is correct, that's going to be by the end of the year?
Yes, it should be before then. When I talk to my FEMA contact, once we submit it, I don't think they're going to take 90 days after we submit the revisions. I'm thinking maybe last time they had 90 days, we submitted in November, and they got back to us in January. So I don't think they're going to take as long. I'm pretty sure it will be quicker.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cloy.
Yeah, real quick. Maybe staff could answer you. What is the cost of this effort?
This was $124,880. Okay.
Anything else for HMTB? We appreciate you, Melissa, for coming and updating that.
All right, thank you.
All right. Ron, just getting back to the pumping situation last week. I know you had pump 7 you exercised, and Henderson Bayou.
Yeah.
You also exercised it. For my friends in the back, Mr. Marty and Mr. David, everything worked good?
Yes, sir. Yeah, everything went fine. We did have to close the gates, prevent the backwater, and we actually pumped the water down some too as well. So remember, we do have to get to elevation 4 there.
Correct.
Before we have enough water to actually pump something. So it did get that high, and we did enact.
Appreciate that. All right, is there anything else on the drainage report? If not, we'll move on to number 7, authorization to enter into agreement. Mr. Ron?
Yeah, this is actually the USGS water gauges. We're asking to go in agreement with them in the amount of $112,500.
Motion.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Bill, second by Mr. Johnny.
And
Any opposition to the motion? Not, motion pass. Move on to number 9, the approval to amend the existing contract.
Yes, this is between East Integrated Drainage District Number 1 and Adura Group LLC, in the amount of, from the original amount of $35,000 to an increase of $14,000, total to $49,000, for technical advice and assistance with maintenance and repairs and pumps at East Ascension Gravity Drainage District Number 1 pump stations. We're asking for approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Johnny. Any opposition to the motion? Not, motion pass. Number 10.
Move that we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Johnny, second by Mr. Terry to adjourn. Thank you.